The Temperance Movement by Emmy Tubman, Jordan Tobias, and Charles Collins. Throughout the 1800s, the opposition to alcohol grew, and the temperance movement was formed. The temperance movement's origins trace back to the 1790s with Benjamin Rush, a founding father and physician who researched the dangers that came with alcohol consumption. This led to the formation of the Temperance Society in Connecticut, made up of more than 200 farmers. From there, the movement only grew, and within a decade, the movement spread to many states across the nation. In 1826, the American Temperance Society was formed with the goal of persuading drinkers to take a pledge of abstinence. Less than 10 years later, the group grew to 1.5 million members nationwide. You may be asking yourself, why did this movement grow so rapidly? There was a belief by many Americans that the consumption of alcohol was immoral, which stemmed from the teachings of the Protestant Church.
The temperance movement was not just supported by men. Many American women were in support of the movement as well. During this time period, women were expected to keep a happy home and raise their children. However, when their husbands spent money on drinking, the wives did not always have enough left to pay for their family's food and clothing. Many women thought temperance was the solution. Regardless of their support, most temperance groups were run by men who did not let women join. As a result, women started to form their own groups, and in 1853, Susan B. Anthony led the first Women's Temperance Convention.
The temperance movement started to pick up speed during the 1840s when states started passing laws against alcohol. A notable example is the Massachusetts 15-Gallon Act, which prohibited saloons from having more than 15 gallons of alcohol on the premises, with the intention of shutting down bars. In order to persuade people to join the temperance movement, propaganda surrounding the efforts of alcohol were pushed out. A famous example is this 1854 novel named 10 Nights in a Barroom. In this story, a man decides to buy a tavern to make some money. Over time, the man's son becomes a drunkard and murders him. The book has the intention of scaring people into thinking that they would turn crazy if they consumed alcohol. While the movement was making significant ground, it practically disappeared during the 1860s due to the Civil War. The United States knew that its efforts should be focused on the war and not on temperance.
However, after the war, the temperance movement was restored. Americans, specifically Methodists, believed that the consumption of alcohol had extreme negative effects on society. These effects include increased crime, homelessness, and unemployment, and supporters of the temperance movement believed that these negative effects outweighed its economic benefits. In 1869, the Prohibition Party was founded by John Russell. The Prohibition Party is a political party whose main principle surrounds the opposition to the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages. This was a major turning point in the movement as the issue became political. The Prohibition Party became the first to accept women as members and is currently the oldest existing third party in the country. The party held a convention in Columbus, Ohio, and nominated candidates to run for U.S. President and Vice President in the 1872 election. As time went on, the movement began to experience some success. While many states had made laws against the sale of alcohol, no state prohibited the consumption of alcohol until 1881, when Kansas outlawed the sale and consumption of alcohol in its constitution. Carrie A. Nation, nicknamed Hatchet Granny, became a leader of the temperance movement. She would enter saloons and use a hatchet to destroy the bottles of liquor in the establishment.
At the start of the 20th century, the temperance movement became a key factor in politics. The entire nation seemed to be divided into two groups, the wets and the dries. The wets, consisting of many Catholics and others who felt the government should not be involved in people's choices, supported the sale and consumption of alcohol, while the dries, largely made up of Protestant Christian groups, opposed the sale and consumption of alcohol. The dries argued that alcohol destroyed families. They pointed out that issues such as physical abuse, poor health, and poverty could all be caused by overconsumption of alcohol. To spread their message, temperance movements produced pamphlets that promoted their agenda. Some were scientific and included facts and statistics supporting their argument. Other pamphlets were religious and quoted scripture from the Bible. Additionally, they used the school system to teach temperance and indoctrinate young children into the dry philosophy.
With time, members of Congress began to take sides on the issue. While many Americans demanded the freedom to choose what beverages they could and could not consume, the dries became the majority in Congress. By 1917, there were 278 members of Congress who supported the dry agenda, compared to only 126 congressmen who were wets.
A month after the proposal of this amendment, it was passed and ready for ratification. The requirement for ratification was the approval of 36 states. This was completed in 8 short days, making it the 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution on January 16, 1919.
The amendment was officially put into place 1 year after being ratified, meaning that nationwide prohibition went into effect on January 16, 1920. This amendment was in effect for 13 years. However, on December 5, 1933, the 21st Amendment was ratified, which repealed the 18th Amendment and ended the increasingly unpopular nationwide prohibition of alcohol. This was the only amendment to ever be rescinded by another amendment.